Reddit, what is your best "I am just following company policy" story that completely backfired on your boss? Here is the first comment. I work for a large engineering firm. A few years ago, our new vice president of finance decided we were spending too much money on corporate travel. He implemented a strict automated booking system. The new policy was absolute. Employees must select the lowest logical airfare generated by the system. No manual overrides, no exceptions for convenience. I travel internationally for site inspections. Usually I fly direct from New York to Tokyo. It costs about $1,500 and takes 14 hours. I log my travel hours, get some sleep on the plane, and go to work the next day. I had a trip to Tokyo scheduled for the week after the new policy dropped. I logged into the portal. The system found a cheaper flight, $1,200, saving the company $300, but it was not a direct flight. It was a nightmare route, New York to Atlanta, Atlanta to London, London to Dubai, Dubai to Tokyo, total travel time 58 hours. I took a screenshot and emailed my manager. I explained that this route was insane and asked for an override. My manager forwarded it to the VP of Finance. The VP replied directly to me. "The policy is clear. Book the lowest fare. Your convenience is not a company expense." Okay, you got it? I booked the 58-hour flight. Here is the part the VP forgot to check. Our union contract and HR policy state very clearly that hourly technicians, which I am, are on the clock for every single minute of transit time on international assignments. And anything over 40 hours in a week is double time pay. I started my journey on a Tuesday. I sat in airports. I ate terrible food. I read 3 books. I clocked 58 hours of continuous work time before I even arrived in Japan. 18 of those hours were paid at double my normal hourly rate. I did my inspection, which took 3 days. Then I took the exact same 58-hour route back home. By the end of the pay period, my paycheck was massive. I had accumulated almost 80 hours of double-time overtime just for sitting in airport terminals. The extra payroll cost the company over $7,000, all to save $300 on a plane ticket. My manager approved the timesheet because it matched the travel itinerary mandated by the VP's system. 2 weeks later, the finance department flagged the massive overtime payout. The VP called me into his office, furious, demanding to know why I scammed the payroll system. I just handed him a printed copy of his own email. "The policy is clear. Book the lowest fare." He stared at the paper for a long time. The automated system was quietly disabled the next morning. Next comment. I managed inventory at a massive distribution warehouse. We shipped everything from electronics to cheap home goods. A new regional director took over and freaked out about our shrinkage numbers. Basically, the amount of inventory damaged or lost. He issued a new zero-tolerance policy regarding damaged goods. Every single damaged item, regardless of retail value, must have a separate incident report filled out. It must be accompanied by a color photograph of the damage, and it must be physically signed by the shift supervisor before disposal. Before this, if a box of cheap pens got crushed, we just swept it up, scanned the barcode as damaged, and threw it in the trash. It took 10 seconds. I asked the director in a meeting if this applied to bulk items. He gave me a very condescending look. "Every single item? Are you having trouble understanding the policy?" "No, sir. I understand it perfectly." 3 days later, a rookie forklift driver took a corner too fast. He clipped a storage rack. A massive wooden pallet on the top shelf shifted and tipped over. It was a pallet of cheap, generic ceramic coffee mugs, the kind we sell to dollar stores. The pallet hit the concrete floor from 20 feet up. It sounded like a bomb going off. There were exactly 1,200 mugs on that pallet, all of them shattered into millions of sharp little pieces. The forklift driver was terrified. I told him to relax. I grabbed the warehouse digital camera. I told my team to stop all outbound shipping operations. We cordoned off the aisle. I sat down on the floor and began photographing every single large shard of ceramic that resembled a mug. Click, click, click. I took 1,200 individual photographs. Then I went to the office and monopolized the only color printer we had. I printed 1,200 incident reports. I attached one color photo to each report. We ran out of color ink twice. I had to send someone to an office supply store to buy more ink on the company card. By the end of the shift, I had 2 massive cardboard boxes filled with paperwork. I wheeled them into the shift supervisor's office. He had to physically sign every single one. It took him 4 hours of continuous signing. Meanwhile, the main shipping aisle was blocked by the glass for an entire day because policy said the area could not be cleaned until the reports were signed. We missed our shipping deadlines for 5 major retail clients. The penalties for the late shipments cost the warehouse around $80,000. The total value of the broken mugs, about $600. The regional director visited the warehouse the next day, saw the mountain of paperwork, and quietly told us to go back to the old system. Next comment, I worked tech support for a massive hospital network. We handled calls from doctors and nurses who were locked out of their systems. We got bought out by a larger healthcare corporation, and they brought in their own IT management. They were obsessed with metrics and standardization. They introduced a rigid troubleshooting script. The policy was bolded in the new manual. Agents must read the troubleshooting script verbatim. You cannot skip steps even if you know the solution. Quality assurance listens to all calls. Skipping steps results in immediate termination. I am a senior tech. I know the systems inside and out. Often, a doctor just needs their account unlocked, which takes me 2 clicks and 10 seconds. But the new script required me to ask them to restart their computer, then clear their browser cache, then check their Ethernet cable. It turned a 10-second fix into a 10-minute ordeal. One night, I got a frantic call from an emergency room attending physician. He was trying to access a trauma patient's medical history. The system was throwing error code 404B. I knew exactly what that was. The server load balancer had routed him to a dead node. All I had to do was click a button on my end to flush his session and route him to a live server. It would take 5 seconds, but the QA system was recording, and I liked my job. "Doctor, I understand this is an emergency," I said. "However, I need you to verify that your Ethernet cable is securely plugged into the wall." The doctor started screaming. He told me he had a patient bleeding on the table and he needed the blood type records immediately. "I hear you, doctor, but please confirm the cable is secure." He slammed the phone down, checked the cable, and picked it back up. "It is plugged in. Fix the damn screen." "Thank you," I said in my most monotonous corporate voice. "Now, please close all open browser windows and navigate to your control panel to clear your system cache." The doctor lost his mind. He was screaming profanities at me. He demanded my manager. "I cannot escalate this ticket until the primary troubleshooting steps are complete, doctor." I kept him on the phone for 12 agonizing minutes. I made him restart the machine. I made him verify his Windows version. Finally, I reached the end of the script. "Okay, doctor, I will now flush your session from the server." I clicked the button. The screen instantly loaded. He hung up on me. The next morning, the chief medical officer of the entire hospital network stormed into the IT department. He was ready to murder someone. He demanded the firing of the idiot who kept an ER doctor on hold while a patient was in critical condition. My manager pulled the call recording. He brought me into his office, ready to fire me on the spot. I sat down and slid the company policy manual across his desk. I pointed to the bold text. "Agents must read the troubleshooting script verbatim. Skipping steps results in immediate termination." I told him I followed his exact orders. The manager went pale. He realized if he fired me, I had a massive wrongful termination lawsuit ready to go, complete with his own policy as evidence. The script requirement was quietly dropped for all medical critical departments by noon that day. Last comment. I was a front desk agent at a luxury high-rise hotel in downtown Chicago. The general manager was a guy who cared more about his quarterly bonus than human decency. His bonus was tied directly to maximizing revenue per available room. He implemented a ruthless policy regarding room upgrades. Never offer a free upgrade under any circumstances. If the hotel is overbooked on standard rooms, walk the guest to a partner hotel. Free upgrades are strictly forbidden without my direct physical signature. Walking a guest means you tell them we don't have the room they paid for and we send them to a cheaper hotel down the street. It makes guests furious. It was a Tuesday night in February, freezing rain. The GM had left for a conference in Miami and was unreachable. A guest walked in at midnight. He looked exhausted. He had booked a standard king room months in advance. I checked the system. Housekeeping had found a massive plumbing leak in his assigned room an hour ago. The ceiling had caved in. The room was destroyed. I checked our inventory. We were completely sold out of standard rooms. We had 0 regular suites available. The only room empty in the entire building was the presidential suite. It costs $3,000 a night. Usually, in this situation, you just put the inconvenienced guest in the suite. It costs the hotel nothing since it's empty anyway, and it saves a loyal customer. But I remembered the GM's policy. Never offer a free upgrade under any circumstances. Walk the guest. I looked at the exhausted man. Sir, I am incredibly sorry. Your assigned room has suffered severe water damage. We have no other standard rooms available. He sighed. That's fine, just put me in whatever you have left. I just need to sleep. I cannot do that. I said, company policy dictates I must walk you to our overflow property. The overflow property was a rundown 2-star motel 3 blocks away. The man stared at me. He wasn't angry. He just looked disappointed. You have absolutely nothing else in this building. We have the presidential suite, sir, but company policy forbids me from upgrading you without the GM's signature, and he is in Miami. The man nodded slowly. I see. Very well. Where is the other hotel? I gave him the voucher. He walked out into the freezing rain, dragging his suitcase. The next morning, the hotel was buzzing. The director of sales was having a panic attack in the back office. Our hotel was scheduled to host a massive corporate tech conference the following month. It was a $1 million contract. 200 rooms, catering the whole ballroom. The director of sales got an email at 6 a.m. The tech company was canceling the entire contract. They were pulling all their business from our hotel chain globally. The man I walked out into the freezing rain. He was the CEO of that tech company. He had flown in quietly a day early just to rest before his meetings. When our GM finally flew back from Miami, he had to explain to corporate why his strict upgrade policy just cost the hotel network millions of dollars in future revenue. He was fired before the end of the week. That is all for today. Thanks for listening to Echoed Stories. If you have your own story about a boss who regretted making a stupid policy, drop it in the comments. I read all of them. Leave a like if you enjoyed the video, and subscribe for more realistic Reddit stories. See you in the next one.